Yes. Howdy ho, everybody. It's Sunday, so this is the N17 effect. This is where we round up the week, and of course, talking about today's event. So that will involve, the San Siro as well. When we're talking about the events, of course, the financial, the potential financial takeover. There's a ton to debate. Clean sheet, 2-0. It was comfortable. With me today, I've got a star panel. Eugene, everyone knows Eugene and JJ Coda. They're big in the Spurs community. We've got Jacob coming on shortly, and maybe one or two others. So before we begin, please make sure you subscribe, hit the like, hit the bell. We've got super chats on as well. First of all, I just want a one-word answer, and I mean one word. Eugene, welcome. Of course, you haven't been here for quite a while. What do you make of today's game? One word.
Perplexed.
Perplexed. All right. Okay. I know where you're sitting now. JJ.
Strange. That's the only word
I think I know you got in mind.
Well, because to be fair, to me, there's so much about that game that just felt. I mean, because I must admit, I was a bit, nervous, a bit anxious about, because obviously. A London derby. We know that West Ham conceded this to be their cup final. So I honestly thought, and especially when we saw that Bournemouth had won and Forest got a point and teams around them were picking up, and they were dropping down, I kind of thought they're going to really go for this. They're really, really going to go for it. No, I'm sorry they didn't. And I was so surprised that first half was as dull gets. So I actually was thinking, do I watch the second half or do I put paint on a wall and watch it dry? Because I didn't know what was going to be more exciting at that point. But I found it strange. And then obviously, our best wing backs are two fullbacks, in terms of Davies and Royal. I just was watching the goal thinking, what is going on with this? And then, again, we see another Super Son special, but only from the bench. And it's like, why can he only do it off the bench? So, as I say, you just look through the whole game and it just felt strange. But a win's a win, and we roll on to next Sunday.
That's
Chelsea.
Good. Yeah.
Chelsea.
For me, it's like I was doing watch along, right? And then when I saw the lineup come out, I was saying, we got 7 defensive players. Yeah. 7 defensive players. Then when the game started, we have 7 defensive players, but we are the more attacking team. Right. So let's say perplexed, right? So strange, perplexed, right? But and then they
first half.
First half, yeah. First half.
Honestly, I always write a few notes down. There's nothing. There's really nothing to write. Nothing happened, really. I mean, to be fair, first 5 minutes, they were on top of us. Jared Bowen's long shot. Jared Bowen's long shot in the second minute was probably the highlight of the first half.
That's true.
That was it.
And imagine if that goal went in, right?
Oh.
What would have happened? I was saying, but I don't know. I think they sat back, right? They sat back to play the counter attack, and we sat back to play the counter attack in the first half, so nothing happened. 7 defensive players, right? So I don't know. I guess like in the end, AJ says, right, a win is a win, right?
Eugene, who's doing the team talk? Is it by satellite? Is Conte doing it on Zoom or something like this, or still?
I'm not sure. To tell the truth, right, we were talking about it too, right, during the watch along, right? Did Conte select the team, right?
Yeah.
What will happen? During the halftime, the game was such a dross game in the first half. Will Conte be on FaceTime with the players, right? Will he be putting it up their butt again? Or maybe we were saying Conte has been told by doctors, don't even talk about football. Don't look at the football. Don't watch the football. Just take all the medication you have and go to sleep.
It could be. Absolutely, I can't believe he's gone back. I don't understand why. Yeah, I don't understand why he's gone back. And
no, he's gone back to relax, to get away from the stress, right? Not to be next to Levy. That's why he's gone back.
It's so odd. It's so odd. I think his days are numbered. I don't think he's staying past the summer anyway. We'll get onto that in a second. But stick in the game, Justin. Was the pressure all on us today at home? West Ham at 18th. I think most people would expect us to win. Would you say all the pressure was on us today?
No, I don't think so, because we've seen West Ham turn up particularly at Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. You know, I remember watching in horror the 3-3 when we were 3-0 with 10 minutes to go.
Don't get me started.
And honestly, as I said, I'm stunned that my phone was in one piece at the end of it. I just was. And obviously, our first loss at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium was against West Ham. So, you know, I think after as well, watching how awful we were against Leicester, I didn't know what to really sort of expect, you know, because I thought, that was what worried me. I thought West Ham know that they needed a win. You know, Tottenham, it would have been nice to have got the win, but for me, it felt like it was more of an important result for them. You know, it just feels like, I think after a lot of what's come out, it almost feels like as long as we get Europe, it's a success now. You know, the club laud that as a success. It doesn't matter, you know, they said it themselves. So was it 17 seasons out of 18 we've got into Europe? So it wouldn't have mattered if it was Europa League or Europa Conference League. It's Europe. You know, that adds to the narrative of that is deemed an achievement. So I think it sort of felt like, oh, you know, after Newcastle's result, we've got an opportunity to get in the top 4. Be nice. But you know, as I said, but when then watching the game, I just couldn't get my head around it, because it almost felt like both teams were just waiting for the other to do something, when honestly, I've seen these teams go at each other and have more intensity about it. There was nothing. And it almost felt like once we scored West Ham, there was nothing there as well. So as I said, I was very, very surprised by the whole thing. And, you know, but it's a win, you know, and we go on from them. We hopefully build for the Chelsea game, because I do hope that Conte treats this Chelsea team very different to the Chelsea team he came up against with Tuchel, because I think it's different situations now. It really, really is.
Absolutely, this is a struggling Chelsea.
Absolutely. They had all the possession, but they couldn't score. And I just really hope that we get on top, play the proper counter-attacking football, and we go and destroy Chelsea. Because I think if we take it right and we go at them in the way that we did, particularly against City, I don't see us losing that game. I really don't. That's I think the frustrating thing. It is at times, will the real Tottenham Hotspur please stand up? Because I you just don't know whether we're going to see blistering football, or, you know, I mean, that game summed up Spurs. First half awful, second half brilliant. You know, you really don't know what you're going to get from one moment to the next. You really don't. So that is a game that they should be able to really take something from and put Chelsea to the sword.
Yeah.
So, look, Eugene, you covered the watch along, of course, on Spurs Asian TV. Make sure you get over there if you haven't subscribed yet. Of course, he always does. Eugene always does the watch alongs. Great gang he's got there. When you saw the lineup sheet, you already mentioned the wing backs. Anything else that surprised you? I mean, a certain Sonny. Did you see him being left out today?
I mean, the whole fan base is calling for Sonny to be rested or bench or rotated or whatever. And when Richie came in for Sonny, it didn't make much of a difference, right? We did see, actually, Richie in that half, right, didn't actually do much of anything. Like I said, it was a weird first half, right? We had 7 defensive players, right? And we were a more attacking team, but we weren't getting much of results from that attacking team, apart from that one true ball, I guess, from Kane to Richie, and he shot it at Fabianski, right?
That was a highlight. That was another highlight. Yeah. I remember. I'm remembering now.
Yeah, that was another highlight of the game, right? But expect him to do better. But I guess maybe he need more games, right, under his belt to reach that top gear. And maybe now we found a formula for Sonny. Maybe we have to rotate him, rest him, bench him, bring him on in the second half. I mean, at least give him half an hour or so to do his stuff, right? And maybe that the goals will come in now. Maybe that could be the new tactic that we have, right? Sonny on the bench, Sonny comes on, Sonny scores, right? It's already done 2 times in a row. I mean, not in a row. It's the second time that's happened, right? let's hope we found a proper formula at the moment. But my biggest worry at the moment is that I did the watch along. The second half, a Chelsea fan did hop on. We did talk about what's happening in Chelsea at the moment, and he was very adamant that he wants Potter out because Potter is not he's not the right manager for Chelsea at the moment. But I keep telling him, you guys brought in like a dozen players in the whole transfer window or more than that. How are you gonna expect the players to gel, right? Within those few months together. So you have to give the manager time, right? But hard to say. Chelsea's playing us at home. You never know what's going to happen. But we do have 1 week. We are not playing in the midweek at the moment, right? If I'm not mistaken.
No, we got a whole 7 days.
Whole week,
We got a whole 7
days.
We got a whole week to rest. So whole week to plan, whole week to rest. And maybe by then Conte will be back, or maybe he still needs his rest, right? And maybe still Stellini will still be in charge. And let's see when we face Chelsea, which Chelsea fate comes up, right? Because don't forget, by then they will have Sterling back, right? And maybe with the other players.
He's been injured for a while, hasn't he? But people give Sterling a lot of flack, but I tell you what, that guy, when it comes to, when I see him play for England, the timing of his runs, especially when you're putting balls forward, the timing of Sterling's runs are very, very good. And that can catch our right wing back out. And we know Emerson's had a couple of decent performances, but he is, when he comes up against real quality, there's problems. So, but there's another one. There's another. The lineup was crazy today. There were a lot of changes people weren't expecting. Justin, and even going as far as the centre midfield. Everyone's talking about Sarr in the Champions League. He probably, I don't know. Most people thought he outplayed Skip. Would you have gone with Sarr today next to Højbjerg and the rest of the lineup? What did you make of it?
Well, I think, to be fair, if you take the front or the back four almost, as in Forster, Romero, Dyer, Longley, that kind of almost sort of set itself, really. I mean, you could have maybe said Ben Davies for Longley, because I as much as, we've got him in because we couldn't be bothered to go and get a proper left-sided centre-back and actually put the money in to go and get one. I don't think he's pulled up any trees, and I won't be disappointed when he goes back to Barcelona, really, on that one. But I wasn't so shocked by that, because I think they're quite interchangeable. I think as long as it means that, like, Tanganga isn't playing and Sanchez isn't playing, I think then I'm kind of okay with that. In terms of the middle, I was a bit like what Eugene was saying. I was very sort of surprised, because it very much came across, and I sort of sat there to myself and I thought, is Højbjerg going to be playing a similar role to what he plays for Denmark, which is that a bit more forward-thinking, progressive, type of player? And obviously we saw more snippets of that in the second half rather than the first half, in terms of the ball that he played to Davies, which was beautiful ball that he played through to Davies, that he then passed through to, to Emerson. So, but ultimately I sort of sat there and thought, not really sure about that. And the three up top, I mean, I'll put my hands up. I mean, I wanted Sonny dropped, because I just feel not so much it being an attack at Sonny or anything like that. One of the things that we've found, probably far back as Poch, maybe further back than that, a player can be rubbish, but if he's a star player, he has to play. And that is a culture that that has wound me up for years, because if you're not playing well, I'm sorry, it doesn't matter. You don't start, and to be fair, I think, against Chelsea, I think that Sonny deserves to start, because Richarlison was poor, in terms of his performance. And so Sonny, after his, that should be his reward. And I think this is what the culture should be. It should be a case of, if you play well, if you have a good game, then you deserve to start. But one of the things that's frustrated me, particularly with the Sonny situation, is the fact that he's been poor most of the season, and we've dropped him twice. So I do sit there and I feel that this is something that I hope that is sort of a shot across the bows, as into Kulusevski, because he's been a bit iffy, but he was a bit better today, but he's been iffy, and things like that. So I didn't have a problem with it. I do think though against Chelsea, Richarlison needs to be dropped as Sonny comes in, but it needs to be made clear to Sonny you did well, but the problem is your two best performances in a Spurs shirt this year have been from the subs bench. You now need to decide: are you a starter or are you a super sub? And that I think is what we need to see. You know, against Chelsea, is him go out there and absolutely.
Okay.
That was me. That was not me. Oh my god, cliffhanger or what?
But Tommy, you know, my surprise was right. Our first goal didn't come from any of our attacking players. It came from Langley to Davis to Emerson.
Yeah.
1-2 pass to Davis. Davis passed it to Emerson. And Emerson, you know,
I thought Longley at left centre back was getting forward really well against AC Milan. Yeah. I really did. I felt like he'd done well, not to the extent where I'm going to be looking to sign him from Barcelona in the summer. It was still an unbelievably underwhelming signing for a centre back. Last 3 transfer windows under Conte, the only new player who's brought in is Longley. Is underwhelming to say the least. But the last couple of games he looked good, and he's joining with the attack. But as you say, it was weird. It was weird. You know, Longley, Davis, Emerson. I could have guessed Longley passing it, but other than that, Davis in the final third to Emerson finishing with ease. No, I don't think many would have predicted that.
Well, I see now, right? With Perisic in his kind of predicament, I think Davis would be used a lot as the left wing back in that position now, because we don't have anyone else, right? Sessegnon is out. We didn't get a cover for him, right? At least we still have a few more defenders in the back we can rotate around with, you know, with Langley, Dyer, Romero, right? And of course, Sanchez and Tanganga, right? We have 5 options there. But when you talk about left wing back, right, we don't have any now. But with Davis bombing on down, and his crosses are at least better than Emerson's crosses, right? Or maybe Sessegnon's crosses or Sessegnon's positioning or whatever he does, right? That might give us some hope into a certain sense, as I see it. But at the moment now, just savor the win, right? The clean sheet was good, right? But of course, like a lot of Twitter is going on, it's just West Ham. And like what Justin or JJ was saying, we were quite surprised they didn't come at us. You know, they didn't come at us at all. They didn't give us the kind of pressure they usually gave us, right? And I think there was a bit of lack of steel in their game and in their game plan, right? And like I was saying, when I was doing the watch along, I had a West Ham fan with me. He was also asking questions about their selection. Why wasn't Samaka on, right? Why wasn't Benrahma on, right? Why are they going so defensive? I know. And then I told him, look, we have 7 defensive players on our first 11 squad, right? And you're telling me you are defensive? Right, I was having
bad. You could see it in the first half. It was, bad. They were cancelling each other out, and not in a good way. Yeah, it was rough. It was rough. In my opinion, when it comes to Son and dropping Son or not dropping Son, I'm definitely in Justin's camp when I say I would have dropped him. I would have been dropping him for this game, 100%. I mean, we looked at I knew it was 4 goals, just 4 goals in 21 games for him. And we played 23, so he started 21 games, only 4 goals, which is incredible. No first half goals, and starting, he's only got 1 goal. So, yeah, absolute madness. It was time. Even in the first 7 games of the season, he should have been dropped game 3 or game 4 when we saw that he wasn't quite at it. And it can help the player. It can help the player coming in. He's been signed for £60 million, Richarlison. The player's not in front of you, is not doing it. You're coming in, they give you a chance, like we did today, and it's good for Son to up his game. He's on the bench thinking, look, if I mess about going forward, I'm not going to start games. It's as simple as that. And to be fair, Son came off the bench and he puts his name in against Chelsea. And for me, he starts against Chelsea because Richarlison in general, he didn't have a good game either. I was really hoping he'd get on the score sheet to get his first Premier League goal, or Kulu, because we can't keep relying on Kane. And we've been lucky. Kane's not been injured for 2 years, and the 3 previous years he was always out for like a month or 2 months. So that touch wood, it doesn't happen, but that could be the case. So we need Sonny of old. We need Sonny of last season, Golden Boot winner, and Kulu to start chipping in with the goals. So it was really important that we got Son scoring. And yeah, for me, he definitely starts next game. I'm glad Skip started. in front of Sarr because it's a North London derby, and I really like Skip. I really like Skip. Don't get me wrong, Sarr was fantastic, but people forget how good Skip was last season, first half of last season before he got injured. Him and Son were our two best players. They were fantastic, absolutely fantastic. Been really unlucky with his injury, but I think if there's one place we've got depth, it's in centre midfield. So Bissouma and Bentancur injuries will hit us, especially Bentancur, but. We have a little bit of depth in there, and the boys, they get their chance. But I could not see the Ben Davies at left wing back. I just couldn't. I know he's left back, and it's not much of an adaptation to go to left wing back, but I did not see that happening. Not in this game. So do you think, Eugene, we talked about him coming in for Perisic. So you think this is going to continue? But do you feel like Perisic was dropped for Davies, or it was just a rest? It was a rest because Perisic is 33, or do you think it was actually dropped Perisic for Davies? Do you think that happened, or?
I think at the moment, but to tell the truth, right? Don't like to use the word drop, right? Maybe rest would be nicer, maybe rotated.
Yeah. I mean, do you rate Perisic? How do you rate Perisic in general this season?
To tell the truth, my rating of Perisic at the moment is not too high. I just give him an average score because to tell the truth, he does have the highest assist for us. But the problem is that he can't defend because when he came on after we subbed Davies for him. Did we sub Davies for him? You know what I'm saying? We sub Davies for him, right? Yeah, we sub Davies for him. He was hacking everybody down, I mean, we know he can't defend, but you don't defend in the way of hacking everybody down, right? And I was surprised that West Ham didn't get a penalty, right? There was one shot I saw that, it turned into a corner instead of a penalty. I was like, he stamped onto a player. Maybe he got the ball first before he stamped on the player, right? But and not to say there was there was early controversial, right? What's his name? Handball.
Yeah, I was about to say. You mentioned penalties. Yeah. I was just about to say, what did you make of the? What did you make of that decision?
Yeah, that's what I said. Why is VAR so subjective nowadays? I mean, if it's just a handball, it's a handball because he obstructed the ball because Decky was it Decky? Trying to pass it to Kane on the other side, right?
I think so. Yeah, I think it was Decky trying to get it through there.
Yeah, trying to get Kane. And was there.
I'll be honest, Eugene. I think you're being harsh. I thought it was an excellent save. I really beautiful save it was. And that's off to West Ham. It seems to be working. He did it. Souček did an excellent save at Chelsea, and now you see that. I thought it was a stunning save. I really did.
Yeah. Do you know what? When we look at that, I'll tell you what. Is it Simon Hooper? Is it Simon Hooper? Someone, that's the referee. Oh no, what am I talking about? That was the Arteta. That was the Arsenal game. Simon Hooper. Right, no, Michael Oliver.
Yeah.
It's a terrible decision in the first place. It's a really bad decision. Referees have still got to be culpable of their actual decisions they put on the field before VAR come to a decision. And Michael Oliver was in a great position. He really was. He should have been given that handball straight away. So the VAR didn't back him up. And to be honest with you, look, it's handball without a shadow of a doubt. But there is a little bit of controversy when it comes to handball. There's a little bit of controversy when it comes to he was on the floor, he's sort of on the ground, maybe falling over. So that's maybe.
But he didn't fall over. That's the problem, right? He went down.
And he went down towards the ball. That's the whole premise as well.
And if you went down,
and it's there, he's gone.
It was like a little paddle. It was like a little paddle.
I mean, if you went down and you fell over, then it's one thing. You went down, you blocked the ball, and you didn't fall over. But I don't know. That's why I said, why is it so subjective nowadays? Make it objective. If you do something like that, there must be a rule to make it objective. But maybe fine tuning needs to be said, right? But to me, I had the West Ham fan with me. When in the first instant he said it wasn't a penalty, it wasn't a handball, but he didn't say penalty or not penalty. But after the slow replays and all that we saw, he said, it's a handball.
I didn't see it live. Yeah, you can't deny that it wasn't handball.
It was handball.
I didn't see it live, but I saw the amount of Spurs fans, Spurs players that went up. It was like 5.
Yeah, I didn't see it live either.
And when you see that, when you see 5 or 6 at the same time, you think, oh yeah, this is going to be a penalty. This is going to be a penalty. And I'm disappointed first of all with Michael Oliver not seeing that. I see his face, great position. He should have been given that straight away. The other, pretty much the centre backs. I would have put personally, because I'm not a Dyer fan, I would have put Longley at centre back, Davies left centre back, and then Perisic in. Couldn't see it happening. Really couldn't see it happening. Okay, moving on from the game. Mr. Antonio Conte, is he now on his last legs? In terms of, I mean, this is a question I want to put forward. I think most would probably agree that he won't be there next season, Justin. Do you see him being there next season? Do you see him getting the chop, possibly even before?
I think the only way he goes before the end of the season, if it's a mutual agreement between him and the club. Look, I mean, when he got the job, as much as I thought, oh my God, wow, we've got Antonio Conte, I knew who the owner was. I knew what the spending was like. We've seen it. You know, some of the shockers we could go through. We could do a whole show on the shockers that these owners have bought. So I was always of trepidation that, are they actually going to properly back this manager? And I've heard so many people tell and say, well, they have backed the manager, they spent X, Y, and Z. And it's like, well, actually, if you look at what they've done, you know, some of the money they've spent was already for players he already had, you know, in like Romero. You know, people said, well, hang on, he bought him a £50 million centre back in Romero. It's like, Romero was already there. Let's not get us.
And it was mandatory.
Yeah, it was mandatory. The same way that Porro is going to be mandatory. So anyone will turn around and say the same thing from that. You know, so to me, it's clear, you know, that what I thought would happen has happened. It is a Mourinho 2.0 situation in that we saw a bounce. We saw a good end to the season. You know, we thought that the manager was being backed. Turned out really wasn't, because as we've seen from the 7 signings that he got, one of them is still there, and that's it. In January, he was expecting more, probably like Conte was expecting more, didn't get it. And yeah, it is just a natural progression this now, because we seem to be seeing a better response from the players almost when he's not there. And you almost sit there and think, what is the point now? The fans know he's not going to stay till the end of the season, or stay beyond the season. So what is it you're achieving? What actually is the plan here? Because to me, I sort of look at it and think, you know, if ultimately Poch is coming back, if that is the plan, if that is what the club want to do, just do it. Just do it now. Well, why are you waiting? The guy's not got a club. He could just slot in now, and you can at least try and build on that, ready for next season. To me, it just feels odd. It really does, and especially as you said, he came back, you know, for the Milan game, and now he's gone again, and you're just sort of sitting there and thinking, is this just the club and Conte just trying to find a way, you know, whether, I mean, because it wouldn't surprise me in the next couple of weeks if we hear a story that, due to health reasons, Antonio Conte has, you know, had to, you know, finish his time at Spurs, and, you know, we wish him all the best. And Pochettino is coming in till the end of the season, and of which then we'll review it from there, and then he'll be given a 5-year contract. So that's kind of, you know, if I saw that pan out, would I be surprised? No. It does just feel like the relationship is over, and it's almost like they're staying together for the children. You know, it's a case of, oh, we're staying in because we've got these players. We got to stay with them and go from there, really. So, as I said, it wouldn't surprise me.
I've been saying this for a while. You mentioned Jose Mourinho there. The trajectory of both managers.
Oh, it's shocking.
It's absolutely... It's the same, and it's the same months that they took over the job as well. It's like October time. Conte took over from Nuno, and the same time where Mourinho took over from Pochettino, so a year and a half in, they both tried a few things towards the end of their tenure because they were really struggling. I remember Mourinho put Rodon in 3 or 4 games on the bounce before he got sacked. So they were both trying things. I think even Conte in December, when the centre midfielders were fit, he put Sarr in. He put Sarr in a couple of times. So he's certainly trying new things, and he's put this early press on, which I didn't see before December. The early 15-minute press, it worked. It worked sometimes. It didn't work at times. Like against Arsenal, it didn't work because they were confident then. They were passing around with ease. But it certainly did work in other games in January. So we have seen a difference. We've seen him trying a few different things, but I don't know how much you can get out of this squad. I don't care how much you adapt I think this defense is awful.
Oh, it's no. This is not a Champions League defense. You know, we saw it in the Milan game. You know, ultimately, I mean, their defense wasn't much of one either, but it just felt like that shows you almost. It almost disappointed me because it felt like that Milan game was our level. You know, to me, and I've heard it so many times where people have said, if you put Tottenham in another league, would they win it? Yeah, they probably would, because that's their level, because that's the owner's level. That is where they see themselves at. It's not prepared to push on to what is truly needed. And the amount I've heard about 2025 and the financial fair play, and I'm sitting there in my head and I keep thinking, but we're in 2023. Why should we just now accept that nothing happens? We don't win anything. We don't, as long as we're sort of getting into.
We don't try. Yeah. We don't even try at all.
Right, because it's 2025.
It doesn't matter. We wait until 2025.
Yeah,
right?
and that's kind of what I sort of look at. And absolutely, as I said, the way I've watched this season pan out with Conte and everything that's been going on, and similar with the Mourinho situation, I would not be surprised if probably it's going to be next month. We're going with the same trajectory that we say, due to health reasons, he's had to step down, and we're going to bring Pochettino into the end of the season and then give him a long-term contract.
My view on this is Conte on his last legs or not is very simple, right? Conte is not on his last leg because he's lost his only gallbladder. Right, so
yeah. When I put that up, I was thinking there is actually no health rhetoric here. But
the truth, guys, right? November 20, when in November we lost to Manchester United, right? The chance of Levy out came out in the stadium, and Conte was brought in as a knee-jerk appointment, right? And I see Conte as a stopgap manager because, number one, his contract was only 18 months. Number one. Number two is that during the January transfer window of last season, right, I was already saying Conte is going to walk, right, because we weren't getting any players in. We were linked to 3,000 players, but we never got any players in. And all of a sudden, on the last minute of the January transfer window, right, on the 31st of January, we brought in Deki and Bentancur, right? By luck, Deki and Bentancur clicked, right? And by luck, right, Arsenal bottled it, and we got into top four. Even Conte said himself, our achievement of top four was a miracle, okay, with the players that we had. Right?
It was a miracle, and Arsenal completely threw it away, didn't they?
The signs were all there. The signs are all there, right? That Conte is not going to be here long term, right? But of course, one thing is that I'm very sad is because when we brought in Conte, as a fan base, we thought we had Levy back to a corner, right? That this is the manager that you bring in to show the fans your ambition, and you are going to back him and give him what he needs to turn us around, to make us a winning club again, right? To win trophies, to challenge for the title, and you're already in the Champions League. Conte really brought you into the Champions League, right? Then the summer window came around. All right, the summer window came along. And what happened is that Levy did a miracle again, or Levy did another smoke and mirrors again. He hoodwinked us again by what he did. What he do?
He changed things though, Eugene. He changed it the other
way
way around.
He brought in all the players early.
Yeah.
We got excited, right? We got elated. We got Richarlison for 60 million. So we can get a striker for 60 million. We're hoping we're going to get a 60 million defender. We're hoping we get a 40 million left wing back. We're hoping we're going to get a 50 million right wing back. We hope we're going to get a 50 million attacking midfielder. We waited. What did we get? We saw 7 of the players came in, right? And now we're saying whether Conte is back or not. Now, why do we go back to say whether Conte is back or not, right? All I know is that Conte didn't get the players he wanted, and he's not happy because he did come up with a statement. The vision of the club is to buy young players, develop them, and sell them for a profit, right? That is supposed to be the vision of the club. That is not his vision. He didn't say that is my vision. That is the vision of the club, right? Now we reach to this scenario. Conte has got 3 deaths that affected him, close people to him, right? And that's got him stressed. Now he's gone to a health issue. I've been saying Conte will take medical leave, right, until the end of the season before he departs. But maybe he will take on, if we do get into the FA Cup final, maybe that will be the last match that he will be the manager of, right? That could be the last.
Whatever happens, if he gets to the final, he'll get sacked the week before.
Or maybe when we get to the final, 5 days later, 5 days before the final, they will
if he gets sacked 5 days before the final, then the trajectory is complete. When it comes to Mourinho and
the prophecy is complete. Yes, right? The prophecy is complete, and we go back to Poch again.
I've got a funny feeling about the FA Cup, though. We need a sort of lucky draw, and let's face it,
But the sad part is, Tommy. But the sad part is, we always go back to Poch again. Why are we always going back to Poch again? When you bring Poch in,
it's just a sentimentality.
No, it's not sentimentality about Poch. If you bring Poch in now, do you think Poch will want all the players that we have here now? He's going to get rid of all of them.
We went. Eugene,
Levy's going to spend another 300 million pounds.
We went 500 days without signing a player with Pochettino. The last season under Pochettino.
And the lies that came out from it, remember? When he was building the stadium, he told us, right, the money was there, right? He told us the money was there to buy players, right? And we didn't get players for 3 transfer windows.
500 days. 500 days, we didn't sign a single player. And, fans are calling for Pochettino to return as long as we back him. Well, we didn't back him. That's why he was sacked. That's why he went. That's why he was sacked. And he lost the dressing room, quite frankly. And this isn't 2014. He took over in 2014, where I think we had a better squad. I do think we had a better squad. We had creativity, at least. Dembele, Eriksson. We had a back four. Rose Walker potential. For Tongan, Lloris was at his peak. It was about 27, 28. I feel we had certainly a better foundation then. And Kane had just started under Sherwood. He'd just started scoring the January before. So definitely had a better base. Young. This team is aging. The teams around us are far, far better than the teams around us in 2014. It was very much transitional back then. Arsenal, Man United were nowhere to be seen. Newcastle literally were nowhere to be seen. I think they were getting relegated. Coming up and down at that point. This is a very, very different league that Pochettino would be coming into. Very different indeed. So we can't keep going back, but we will. If the fans demand it, then we'll do it, because that will keep Levy at the helm. And that's the only reason we got Conte. Let's face it. The only reason we got Conte is because the fans demanded it after the worst appointment in our history, without a shadow of a doubt. How can you employ a Wolves manager that finished 13th? They parted ways mutually, so he was sacked basically. If your contract's not renewed, you're sacked, you've gone. The club don't want you, basically. That's how it works. So we waited 72 days for Nuno. The fans hated it. The Levy out chance for the first time. They demanded Conte. That's why we got him, and that's why we got a manager, serial winner. We didn't back him up with the players that he needs. Absolutely not. We didn't go for Malinowski in January. I don't think he's a great player myself. Because he's late 20s. And he costs 10, 12 million pounds. So basically what Levy is saying is, unless you're getting players on a free, like Perisic, over 30, we're not paying any money. But you need those players. They're the players that Conte thrives with. You got, what's his name? What's the chap's name? Ashley Young, a left wing back for Inter, won a Scudetto. He's 34, 35 years old. He can do it. He needs the older players sometimes. You need a good balance, don't you? We absolutely don't have that balance. And as you say rightly, Eugene, we started the window off great. Last 6 weeks, we signed Spence. Mid-July, we signed Spence. That's it. Last 6 weeks of the window. Absolutely nothing.
And bearing in mind as well with Spence, obviously Conte made that very clear before the season started. That wasn't going to work when he said it's a club signing. He hasn't played everybody knew the moment he said it's a club signing, it's like, well, he ain't playing then. That's that game over. What's the point in that?
He hasn't started a single Premier League game. He's been fit. We've got Doc. We literally ripped up Doc's contract in January.
Guys, I can tell you one thing, right? Don't be surprised in the end of the day, right? If Conte leaves, right, and Stellini stays with Mason, you never know, right? Poch might not come back. Stellini stays with Mason.
Stellini goes wherever Conte goes. That's why this maybe
Conte will take a sabbatical from football because of his health issues and all that, right? And give Stellini a free reign, right? It's time for you to fly off from the roost and blossom and become your own bird.
I love the optimism.
I love his interviews. I love Stellini's interviews. I think he comes across really well. But he's a Conte boy. He's a Conte boy, and he's getting his orders. He's getting his orders straight from Conte's mouth. But there is a difference, because I feel like he is very intense. Conte, he's very intense. We've seen that. We were 19th before. We were 19th in the standing. Sort of how many kilometers we ran under 2 weeks. We were second. So he's a very intense manager, and it's sometimes good to not have that. But at the same time, that's what makes him a league winner. That's what makes him in the Scudettos, FA Cup.
Of course, the writing is already on the wall, to tell the truth, right, guys? We had the World Cup break, right? World Cup break, we had nearly 45 days or so, right? And in those 45 days, when Conte went back for holiday, you come back, wouldn't you have at least talked about your contract, right? Wouldn't you have at least talked about your ambitions with the club, right? What's the owner's ambition? What's the manager's ambition? What's the ambitions for the fans and all that?
No, usually sorry. We can only discuss one contract at a time, and we were ready to give Dyer a 4-year contract, so we couldn't do it.
Don't go there.
Don't even say that. It still makes me feel queasy when I hear that.
Please don't do that, right?
Yeah,
and I'll go that one. I keep saying, right, we keep giving bang average players, right, extension in contracts so we can keep them until they die, right? Not until they retire, right? Until they die.
Ashes, and then throw their ashes on the pitch.
Yes. Bury the ashes around
in that's what Dyer wants. We know that's what Dyer's mad for.
Oh dear.
Probably knowing him.
Yeah.
But right. So going back, as I said, it's a roundup of the week. So the Rossoneri tie-in, it is a key, because we've got a second leg coming up. Well, I say coming up. We haven't got it for about 3 weeks, which is odd. But think back. It was only 5 days ago. Feels like it was a lifetime ago. But Milan went to the San Siro, lost 1-0. Good result for you, Eugene. The Milan game. Try and think back. They went into the game 1 win.
The Milan game for me was a bit weird, right? I had to wake up at 4 a.m. in the morning just to watch the game, right?
Oh shit.
Yeah. For me, is that game turned out to be a bit weird, because they got the goal early, right? And after that, they didn't come at us at all. They just sat back, right? And somehow or another, we were shit in attack. Somehow or another, in Milan, our strikers just didn't click and just went missing, right? And Milan should have been at least 3-0 up by end of the game, and they didn't take their chances. So I guess in their day, we still have a chance of getting into the last, we will not make a mistake, quarterfinals after this, right? A chance to get in the quarterfinals. And most probably once we reach there, we can get humped by some great team. That's all.
Yeah, probably.
All this debate about whether we get into the top 4 or don't get into the top 4, we know it doesn't mean much in the transfer window. The following transfer window. It's good, I rate Basuma, but we signed a player from Brighton, we signed a player from Everton. We could sign those players regardless of whether we got into the Champions League or not. So I don't think it makes much of a difference in the transfer window, but what it does make a difference is the players you lose. So, Romero, Bentancur, they want to be playing in the Champions League. The agents want to be, they want their players to be seen in the Champions League. So it's not just about signing players, it's about keeping players.
We keep players, don't worry, right? We keep a lot of shit of players.
but average players will stay. They'll stay whatever. But Bentancur, Romero, they're not average. They're not average at all. And we got a real problem. If we start losing those players, we've got a real issue. But I do want to bring up this point from David Clark. Big up David from Leicester. In this Premiership, we need to buy players who can compete in the air, because everywhere over the pitch, we can only about 6 all game. And that's absolutely on the money. I've said it for a long, long time. And I'm not jumping on the bandwagon because of the AC Milan game where Romero got beaten by Hernandez. Romero in the air is horrible. He is horrible in the air. To play with 3 centre-backs, as we do, we should be dominating defending set pieces, at least, all over the shop. Absolutely all over the place. And it came to fruition. We saw it against AC Milan, but you look at Romero time and time again, and there's big problems with him earlier. He nearly got sent off in that AC Milan game as well. So throughout the defense, there are issues, even with Romero, who I think is going to go on. When he's got better players around him, I think he will improve. Yeah. But it goes without saying, aerially, there's a big weakness. Our best defender aerially is Tanganga, who's pretty useless at everything else.
Emerson Royale.
Possibly, you could be right. Some people were calling him earlier on this season. Some people were calling him for him to be right centre back. I don't know. I don't know. I don't think you can. He's like Bambi on ice, isn't he? He spends most of it. If he's not sliding on the floor, he's just he's jumping around trying to get free kicks. I don't think you can do that as a centre back. But some people were calling for it. Certainly not me. But the Rossoneri, Justin, what did you make of the result? And is it okay? 1-0.
I think, to be fair, if you'd have said to me at the beginning of the game, would I have taken it? Yeah, I probably would have. But watching the game, and as Eugene said, I just couldn't believe it. I thought we were, the defense. I mean, we sort of managed it okay. Son and Skip played well. They were our best players. But the rest of them just were like soldiering through, just sort of meandering through the game. I mean, up top, there was nothing. There was nothing from the three of them, and that is so disappointing because we really should. And it just shows as well how much we're missing a number 10. How in games like that, when teams, playing banks like that, banks of 4, and just say, break us down, we haven't got it. Sarr and Skip were good in what they did. They broke up the play, but then they were trying to pass it on to who, and to be fair, they were trying to get the ball, in terms of who they needed to, and from there. So that's the bit that worries me for the second leg, because we should go at it. We really, really should, but we didn't today. In a game that we should have been able to do so. So I do just sit there and think, I don't know, as I say again, what Tottenham will turn up, because if Tottenham turn up and really go at them, we should get through that tie, no problem at all. But again, Conte has not won a knockout game in the Champions League. He hasn't. So is he going to give too much respect to a team that I don't think really we should be of our level? I think we should just be sweeping them aside. You look at them man for man through the pitch, apart from Rafael Leao and Theo Hernandez, there's not really anyone that you would say, that started that game that you think, oh, okay, no, they could come into our team. They're better than what we've got. That's the bit
even just looking at the centre mids, Skip and Sarr, their Champions League debut starting, dominated against Krunic, and who's the other chap? Tonali, Krunic and Tonali. Yeah, absolutely dominated. Justin, you got to pop off.
Yeah, I'll drop off. I'll look to try and jump back on in a bit. All right,
mate. All right, take it easy, man. So the Rossoneri game, it was, to sum up, it was there for the taking, and AC Milan are incredibly poor. That was their first win in 8 games.
They beat Torino.
The week before they beat Torino. That was their first win in 8 games in Serie A, and then they beat us as well. So I'm not sure what they're doing this weekend, but they were there for the taking, and this is the problem with such a long break in between. I'm thinking that gives AC Milan time to come back into form. So the way the game went, we should have at least got to go, and we should be going to the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium with a draw. I think absolute minimum.
No, to tell the truth, right? I mean, draw or not draw, it doesn't much matter, because nowadays away goals doesn't count much anymore. So as I see it now, we have to actually beat them by at least 2 goals to get through. But I did say earlier, right? Most probably, we'll win 1-0 and we'll go into extra time, and then we'll lose in a penalty shootout. That's how I see it, right?
But I'm disappointed. I'm disappointed the away goal rule isn't there. I'm disappointed the away goal rule's not there anymore.
Yeah. But to tell the truth, I would just say it this way, right? They have got their injuries, and if I'm not mistaken, most probably by then their main goalkeeper will be back, right? I mean, Yang will be back, and and we'll still be stuck with Forster. So let's see what happens there.
And all this complaining about injuries, I done a little preview earlier, right? And West Ham had 8 or 9 injuries going into this game, and some of the players that did start just come off for an injury for West Ham. So if we end up not getting top 6, let's say, I know we won today, but it was West Ham. If we don't end up and then we start blaming injuries, then that's when that Levy in. They start blaming the injuries. When you just look at Liverpool, they're not really blaming the injuries. They're getting on with it. And the only out-and-out first-team player is Bentancur, because most people wanted Lloris dropped anyway. And Sessegnon's not a biggie. Basuma hasn't been getting games all season. So only big one is Bentancur. So if we start using that as an excuse, if we use that as an excuse at the end of the season, I will not be happy, but I wouldn't put it past I wouldn't put it past some of our fans. Put it that way.
We always find an excuse.
But I think, yeah, Eugene, you said it. The forward line against AC Milan were terrible, and it was an average. It's an average AC Milan back four. Well, they had back three as well, didn't they? We really needed to get something from that game. I felt like we needed to get something from that game to win. I got a funny feeling it's not going to go well. The second leg is not going to go well. We played worse at home. I mean, statistically, this season we played worse at home. So we'll see in a few weeks' time. We'll see. We've got much better chance in FA Cup.
But most worried by then, most worried Kane will get injured, right? And Son will have to play the main striker role.
I'm telling you now. I'm telling everyone now. Kane is not far from getting injured. I know it's it's a horrible thing to say, but we need to get used to not having Kane around because he's probably not going to be there next season either. So
most probably Chelsea will buy him. That's all.
Oh my God! I heard some people saying Chelsea, and surely not. Surely not. But if we see him line up for another Premier League team, even if it's like Man United, then it's going to be.
Or Newcastle. Well, it could be Newcastle. Yeah.
I don't know. I don't think they can. I think he would. I know they've got a lot of money, but I think Harry Kane will want to. I say definitely win something. Man United are still away from really title challenging. You could say, although they're still in there. They're in the hunt after today's performance, I should say.
Yeah.
They certainly are. Right, okay. Going back earlier on in the week, we had this potential new ownership. Eugene, I want to talk about the morals when it comes to new ownership these days. What's your moral view of where the money comes from? Whichever owner it is, we know the Saudis took over from Newcastle. They've got a bit of a dodgy background. What do you make of this moral code of a new owner at Spurs?
To tell the truth, right, don't care. Honestly, if you want to talk about morals, right, then everybody has to be checked for whatever they've done for their whole life, just long I don't want to say the word, right? I mean, come on. Everyone has got a dark past behind it, whether you're a country, whether you're a person, you've done something wrong, depending how bad it is, right? When you talk about morals, of course, I have morals, right? But when you talk about football, right, when you talk about the money coming into the football, if you're not up there with them, then you won't be challenging. So it's either depending on what ambitions you have, right? It's either your ambitions and your morals are supposed to match, then you won't have any ambitions anymore, honestly, right? But of course, a lot of people say that it's better the devil you know and the devil you don't, right? But at the moment now, when you talk about morals, I guess we have to look at ourselves first before we judge other people. That's how I see it, right? Simple as that.
If we start talking about a moralistic approach, we'll be left behind. We'll almost certainly be left behind. Many clubs from from countries with, let's say, dodgy backgrounds are coming into the game. If you asked me 10 years ago, I think maybe I have a slightly more liberal view, but things change. We just talked about Pochettino.
If you want to talk about morals, right, then the whole Italian league had to shut down.
But Joe Lloris, the owner, I mean, he's destroyed so much land in South America.
Yeah, I know.
For airports and for his company, for airports in Argentina, for his company, this, that, and the other. He's in court. He's in court now with these issues. So many in Argentina protesting against what he's done. So we're talking morals here. People need to get off their high horse a little bit. And as I said, I used to be maybe slightly liberal 10 years ago, but things change. And we will be left behind if we worry too much about where our money will come from. Fifth wealthiest in this country, Joe Lloris, fifth wealthiest billionaire in this country. Unbelievable. Unbelievable, the lack of support we have with looking at that in mind. It's crazy. And we've just had a World Cup in Qatar, and we're talking about morals now. Fucking hell. Twitter is a cesspit. That's usually where we see this sort of thing. Twitter is an absolute cesspit.
Talk about morals.
I'm not whatever's happening out there. I'm not beheading anyone. It's not me. So don't have a go at me. I want my football club to be
winning something. Yeah.
Right. Stilini picked a team to compete with West Ham physicality in the first half. Then as well. Do you think David, do you think he picked this team? Do you think he picked this team or Conte picked this team? I'm sorry, I don't think he picked this team. I think Conte still picked this team. I think if Stellini's doing that sort of thing behind his back, he's going to get sacked. And he's been with Conte a very long time, so I don't see him. Conte saying, "Stellini, pick what team you want, mate." I just don't see that happening, to be honest. But you know, he motivates the team. As I said, he's not there, so there's motivation from Stellini to get the team going, I suppose. I like Langley, but what are his usual strengths or his weaknesses today? His passing out the defence was woeful. I thought he played all right against AC Milan as well. But Davis, did you see Eugene? Davis got man of the match. Would you have given him man of the match? I'm not sure.
Oh, Davis the man of the match?
Yeah, Davis got man of the match. Would you have given it to Royal?
Oh, to tell the truth, right?
Not that it matters. It's just man. I don't think we're allowed to say man of the match anymore. I think it's player of the match.
Man of the match, player of the match, outstanding player of the match. At the moment, I don't know. Come to think of it, who gonna give it to? Maybe give it to Skip.
Yeah, Skip was fantastic as well. Nobody was talking about Skip in the AC Milan game. Everyone was talking about Sarr, but Skip does the dirty work. He really does the dirty work, the nitty gritty stuff, and he never loses a ball. I am a huge Skip fan, and I am glad he started today. You are wrong about today. Stellini's tactics was perfect. He picked a team to compete with City when they were doing all the running about. But when West Ham tied, we took Philip. That's Conte's tactics. In the first half, we don't do much. We sort of wear the team out, and in the second half, we come alive. That's Conte's tactics as well. Same, they come from the same place. Jeff Al, big up, boys. How you doing, Jeff Al? How you doing, my friend? We need to hope that the rumours about Real Madrid wanting Richarlison is true. Yes, I heard this. I heard these rumours. Real Madrid in for Richarlison. I'm telling you now, and I've said it many times, Richarlison, we signed Richarlison last season to be the replacement for Kane when he goes. I'm convinced of that.
No. We signed Richarlison because we had to pay Everton to take Dele Alli.
Oh, I've never.
Now you get it.
I've never thought about this. We
signed Richarlison, so
wow.
Everton had to take Dele Alli, right? Yeah.
You threw that in there. Right. I always do this every week. Well, since Arsenal have been what Arsenal have been, you know, they got away with things. Let's say Saturday. So Arsenal for the league, Spurs for top 4. Eugene. How do you see it? If you're predicting it from now, do you see Arsenal winning the league? Do you see Spurs getting a top 4? And as I said, I ask this every week because things change every week. Things slightly change every week.
To tell the truth, right? Ever since Arsenal's been top, and ever since M-City's been performing like this, right? I've been saying in a lot of channels, right? I've been saying on my channel especially, Pep Guardiola has gift wrapped the championship, right? The EPL title, and handed it to Mikel Arteta, right? Because this season, I think Pep is going to focus more on the Champions League, because that's one title he hasn't won with M-City or any other club since he's left Barcelona. And maybe this could be the last year he wants to try. And if he does win it this year, maybe he will bow out gracefully and head on to PSG, right? This is how I see it. Arsenal beat Aston Villa yesterday in the early game, and what happened to the Nottingham Forest game, right? They didn't beat Nottingham Forest, they drew. Come on, right? What was all that about? Okay, maybe
they lost to us as well, so they're not.
They lost to us. Yeah, we beat them. I mean, we could beat them at Forest home ground, right? The City ground, right?
Yeah.
But somehow or another, M-City couldn't beat them. So I guess there's something going on there, or maybe Pep has got one eye on the Champions League game coming up. So that could be it, right? Spurs for top 4. We are in top 4 now, right? But of course, we're one game. Newcastle is 1 game in hand, if I'm not mistaken. One game in hand against us, right?
Your life depended on it, Eugene. Are we getting top 4? Your life depended on it. No.
Not with our injuries at the moment, right? And not with the current situation that we're in. Because guys, we flip-flop, right? When we beat, we are all happy and elated and hoo-ha, and we're in top 4 now. There'll be a bigger hoo-ha, right? When we lose and we drop out and then we go ooh-ha, hoo-ha, right? And then it's Conte's fault, it's this fault, it's everybody's fault, right? It's the tea lady's fault, right? So it is what it is, right? Flip-flop. To me, is that I've made up my mind more or less. If we do get top 4, I guess it'll be another miracle again, whether it's being now this time performed by Conte, or maybe they say it's being performed by Stellini, right? Don't forget, I did say, right, most probably Conte will be on medical leave until end of the season, right? The way things are going, right? So as I see it, if he does come back and imagine if next week Conte is not back and Stellini is there and we beat Chelsea, imagine how the fan base will start thinking. The fan base will go crazy again, right? The narrative will go into another spin again, right? Then when Conte comes back and takes over the AC Milan game, right? And we get kicked out of the Champions League, imagine that's going to happen again, right? So we flip-flop, simple as that. But everyone's entitled to their own opinions, right? We're entitled to flip-flop because we're human. We have emotions that goes up when we win, and we have emotions that we go down when we lose. It is what it is, right? Top 4.
We're a very flip-floppy team. We're more flip-flop than most.
The team is flip-flop. So this fan base is flip-flop, so you get a flip-flop team. But top 4, I think most probably we get 6, right? Because don't forget, Liverpool is coming up now. Liverpool has clicked into gear, right? They beat Everton. They beat Newcastle 2-0, 2-0. Just be careful. Liverpool is on the way, right? Maybe hook by crook, maybe we get 5th. But 4th, with at the moment, Manchester United in the kind of form they are, M-City is M-City. They ain't going to drop out of top 4, right? And Arsenal ain't going to drop out of top 4.
They're the top 3, aren't they? I think most will come to the conclusion that Man City, Arsenal, Man United are going to be the top 3.
Yeah.
We've got Newcastle, ourselves, and Liverpool probably fighting for.
Yeah.
Well, do you know what? You say that, but I know Chelsea are right down. But if they sack Potter, we saw what happened with Tuchel. I don't think he lost for 15 games. I think they conceded 2 or 3 goals in 15 games when Tuchel took over at Chelsea a few years back after Lampard.
But
and they won the Champions League final. And they won the Champions League
final. But if they sack Potter, right, who's going to come in?
They'll find someone. Pochettino? I don't know.
Yeah, that's right. The other name that comes in will be maybe Poch, right? But the problem at the moment now with Chelsea, like I said earlier, I had a Chelsea fan on with me during the watch along. He doesn't like Potter because at the moment now Chelsea are in a disarray because the owners just bought in 12 to 16 new players and expect the manager to bet them all in within the 2 weeks and turn them into a world-class team all of a sudden. It doesn't happen overnight, bro. Right? You know that. I know that. It's football. There's no way. Right? No matter how brilliant a manager you are, it's no way. Unless, right, the new manager comes in, right, and take back that old group of players and try to gel them back again and start fighting again and slowly insert the new players in. But I don't think that will happen when you're being given the kind of money and the kind of players that come in at one time, right? And there'll be more players coming in summer too. Don't forget. It's just not this window. They're going to buy until 2025 when the new FFP rules come in.
Oh, ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. But yeah, I think, it's between us, Newcastle and Liverpool. I don't think we're going to do it. I can certainly see Newcastle messing it up as well because they're not used to being in this position. But yeah, I think overall Newcastle and Liverpool, they've got better depth in their team. We're struggling with like a couple of injuries. We'll probably get a few more because we've got a lot of games. You know, next round of the FA Cup, we've got AC Milan again. We could play another 2 games if we go through the Champions League. We still got a hell of a lot of games to play. And I've said it, I've got a bad feeling one of the forwards is going to get injured and it could be Kane. We lose Kane, we're fucked. We're absolutely fucked. We struggled to get into the top 6. If we didn't have Kane this season, we'd struggle to get into the top 10. Honestly, we'd be down. It'd probably be fighting relegation like West Ham are if Kane wasn't there. Honestly, we're that reliant on Harry Kane. It's absolute madness. But I think we'll miss out. Probably, maybe 5th or 6th. Liverpool getting all their fit players back now. So my money would be Liverpool. In terms of Arsenal, I've said it for a long time, and I'm not just saying this as a Spurs fan. I don't think they're going to win the league. I really, really don't. This weekend against Villa, I watched the game. I watched all the game, and they were lucky. I mean, two goals in injury time, 2 goals in injury time.
Tommy, that's the thing, right? If your luck is on your side, you will win the league.
Absolutely, and they can. And they in many ways they deserve to. But I just feel like if you're, my life depends on it. I would say Man City are going to win it with Man City or Man United. Well, I think Arsenal have slightly more chance than Man United. But if if I had to put money on it, I'd say Man City's still gonna win the title. And of course, I hope so, because that would be a very, very bad day indeed if Arsenal win the title. It'll be terrible now more than ever, because they've done nothing. 2 years ago, they were absolutely nowhere, Arsenal. Yet we got Kane, Son, the best duo in the league for how God knows how many years, and we haven't won a single trophy, let alone the Premier League. We haven't won a single trophy. And through all that time, Arsenal had probably the weakest team they've had in the Premier League era. They still get 4 FA Cups. They still won 4 FA Cups in that time. We've got nothing. Absolutely nothing.
Our owners don't do cups.
They don't. Yeah, there's no.
Our owners don't do cups, right?
There's no reason to win cups.
Right? We signed just days before the cup final, so we don't do cups, right? We go
top
for
quarter of the Premier League. As long as we're in the top quarter of the Premier League, so the top 25 in terms of, I don't know, maybe investing money, having the best players. As long as we're in the top 5, top quarter of the league, then we're competitive. We could get into the Champions League. We're not going to spend 100 million extra we need to win titles. It's just not going to happen. That's why we need new ownership who potentially will do that. And if they have poor morals in the process, then, you know, so be it. Everyone else, every other owner is doing the same thing. So it's not, I couldn't care less, to be quite honest with you. Right. I think we'll leave it there. I've done quite a few hours streaming today. Eugene definitely has. Before we go, my friend, tell us about your channel.
Oh, I'm Spursvision TV on YouTube. You can see it here, right? Yep. Please subscribe, like, right? And you have not, subscribe. I do shows usually on Mondays nowadays. Ever since I started work, 1 week a day, a show a week, right? If I do a watch along on Sunday, then I won't do the Monday show. If there's no watch along on Sundays, I usually do a Monday show. But my shows usually consist of fans from other clubs, right? I get a whole variety of friends from Newcastle, Chelsea, Arsenal, West Ham, right? That's how it goes, right? And I try to get a lot of Asian fans on to talk about see the other side of the pond perspective, right? And if you guys would like to just sometimes hop on and listen to see what we say, right? Just give it a like, subscribe, right? And don't forget, subscribe to Tommy's channel too, Hotspur Hood. Before it was called what?
3 names. I think this is name number 3 now.
First zone to Tommy Talks Balls.
Tommy Talks Ball, yes. That didn't go too well on Twitter. Saying Tommy Talks Ball did not go well on Twitter. So
no, it's possible, right?
They had shit on the end. Every tweet you make, they had shit on the end, and I couldn't deal with that anymore. So yeah, Hotspur Hood is staying as the Hotspur Hood. Our next stream will be Tuesday night, not the 9 o'clock news. We always have it's a little bit more chill. We have a lot of fun on a Tuesday night. We have quite a few guests on a Tuesday night. We have like 4 or 5, like Eugene's. As Eugene said, when you go on there, there's lots of guests on there. Some Spurs, some Liverpool, some Arsenal. So it's good banter, really good banter. And I wasn't aware that the West Ham fan left when he was live on your show. Well, that's what you want to see when you're watching a show against the team you're playing, and that fan leaves. That's fantastic. That's exactly what you want to see. I had an Arsenal fan leave when we was doing a preview. Actually, I had an Arsenal fan leave. I was doing a preview to an Arsenal game with 2 Arsenal boys, and get this. This was last season. He wanted to put Bergkamp over Kane in an all-time Premier League predicted 11. Everyone can agree that it's Henry. Bergkamp next to Kane. Yeah, if they can go, if that's the issue, they can go. But it's
was it Steven or was it Luca?
No, it wasn't either. It was King. It was
King. Say
King Said, King Said. He was not happy.
Okay, yeah.
But, it's good fun.
They're all good guys. They're all good guys, right?
They're all good chaps, and it makes for good watching when you got other fans on. When I'm going to start doing previews again. I always try and get one fan of the opposite club, and I'll probably start doing that again soon. I haven't been doing previews for a while, but no. Next stream, Tuesday, 9 o'clock. Catch Eugene. You'll probably be doing the watch along next Sunday, won't you? Spurs Chelsea.
No, watch along next Sunday is a bit too early for me. I'll be at work, right? Hopefully I'll catch it, but most probably I'll do a Monday preview, review show after the Chelsea game. Let's see how that goes, right? Yeah.
So get over, subscribe to Eugene Spurs Asian TV, and of course, if you haven't subscribed yet, please make sure you do, and chuck a little like. It really does make a difference, and of course, notification bell notifies you of future content. Okay, everyone, peace out, stay safe, stay free, and stay classy.
And always leave you out.
Leave you out always. I have
Always
to add
like
that now.